Hey! Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night, wherever you are in the world today. I hope you're doing great and I hope you're with those who you love. Now, one question I do get is how do I get better? How do I improve my skills? How do I push myself? You know, and when do I even start trying to get better? When do I start trying to push my skills? And the question is, or answer I should say, is right now. What are you waiting for? It matters how you do it, will be the next question based on where your skills are. So if you're just starting off and all you can do is dogs and teddy bears and hearts and swans, then you know what? Find a place, volunteer somewhere, get some permission somewhere to go and just make those for an hour. Make tons of them. Just hand them out, volunteer, do it for free, do it for a charity you believe in. There's always charities looking. And I can't tell you how many times I've had to, tell charities no because I wasn't available. Or, I do only so many a year for the ones that I really believe in. But they're always looking for people to do something, to volunteer to do those things. So contact them. The worst they can say is, no, we're not interested. But maybe they are. And you never know what that might turn out into later on. Connections are everything. So what do you do? Well, you master what you know, but you don't wait till you master it. Now, this is what I mean by that. Get very comfortable. Get good at what you do. But don't wait till you think you've gotten to the perfection point. Because I hate to tell you, perfection doesn't usually come. Things are going to happen. Mistakes get made. It's okay. Balloons are an art form. Art's not supposed to be perfect. Art's supposed to be something fun, make you feel something, think something, remember a memory, remember experience. Just think about it. By making a balloon dog, a traditional balloon dog, you're giving a young kid possibly the same memory that mom and dad had, and possibly even the same memory grandma and grandpa had, and maybe even great grandma and grandma. Those memories are something special. So don't wait until you think you've gotten that perfect dog. The way you get to perfection is by doing. I once knew a magician and I asked him, what separates a person just learning a trick and they know how to do it to someone who's really good at that trick? He said, about 100 times doing that. Okay. What takes someone from being really good at doing that trick to being really good at that trick? He said, about 1,000 times. And I said, what does it take to get someone who's really, really good at the trick to a master of that trick? And he said about 10,000 times. Practice, repetition, over and over and over is what makes you better. But I admit, that can be boring sometimes. So what do? Well, you master the components. You master the parts. So we started this channel teaching techniques, not creations. The first, 10 videos were all based on how to make a bubble, how to do an ear twist, how to do these different techniques, because those are the building blocks you're going to build off of. So practice over and over and over again those techniques. Look at them again like letters in the alphabet. Now, in the English alphabet, we have over 500,000 words that are in Webster's dictionary. But we still only have 26 letters total. So we get that by doing different combinations. In balloons, it's the same way. We have to mix and match. So learn those pieces, learn the rules, learn how to use them, learn how to break the rules and how to use them. When you can do something with a certain twist that you don't usually get to do it with it. Learn when it's okay to do something and maybe when it's not okay, but it still works. Work on those things so that when somebody asks you for something, maybe it's something you've never seen before, you can say, okay, I see this kind of component here. It has this kind of hand and this kind of foot and this kind of belly or stomach shape. And I can add those different parts together that I know even if I've never seen this thing before. Let me give you a story here, a true story. Several years ago, I was doing a comic book convention in Detroit, Michigan area. Actually, it was in Novi, called Motor City Comic Con. And it was, nowadays, a lot of people know what Five Nights at Freddy is. They've even made a movie. And they're all over. Anything you can think of, all kinds of, pretty much any product you can find with these characters. But this game must have been just launched right before this convention. I had some kid come up and ask for one of the main characters. I think it was Freddy. And I never heard of it because it just had come out, the game, the original version. So I even went on Google, which is, to me, one of the great resources that us balloon people have, is we can do an image search. Oh, Wonder Woman. Okay. Wonder Woman from 1970. Boom. And I have all those pictures to work off of. Well, this was so new that there wasn't even a Google picture of those characters. There was like 2 sketchings, but they were not enough to figure out what they were supposed to be. They're kind of like a promo kind of look. And so I even went to some artists who were at this convention who I know do a lot of really good stuff. I'm like, do you guys know who these characters are? Have you guys drawn these characters? Because these are the guys who, like, if a character is brand new that they think's popular, boom, they're going to make it. And they had no idea who this character was. So I had the kid sit down with me. I pulled up another chair next to my booth, and he described what this character looked like. Okay, looks like a teddy bear, except for this. And it looks like this, but for this. And we worked together, and we made it based on what he was telling me the different components looked like. So that's an important part of pushing your skills. And again, like I've told you before, sometimes science projects are the best way to learn. It might not be perfect, but if it's on the right track, you can build off of it. Another thing that I really encourage you to do is set up a day. Go to a local park, volunteer at your kid's baseball tournament or whatever, and make balloons all day. But I'm going to give you one challenge. And it was given to me. So I'm not giving you something that I'd never tried to do. And this challenge changed how I looked at doing balloons. I was filling in for a buddy of mine who was going to a convention, and he did the minor league baseball team in his area for a time. And he needed me to fill in for a couple games. He had one rule, though, that he always kept. You can't make the same thing twice in a day. So let's say if somebody wanted a zebra, no more zebras the rest of the day, unless they came up with a creative way of doing it. I want a pink zebra. Okay. So throughout the day, that becomes a nice little challenge. Here's the problem. One of the games got rained out. So now I had a doubleheader with a period in between. So that was a lot of time of not making the same thing twice. But you know what? I did it. And it proved something to me that I could. So I'm giving you this challenge of finding ways, not doing it for 5 or 6 hours, maybe just do it for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, where you're pushing your creativity. Okay, how can I do this in a different way? How can I make a giraffe a different type of giraffe? Instead of a 1 balloon giraffe, can I make a 2 balloon giraffe? Can I make a 4 balloon giraffe? What can I do to give it more personality and keep building off of what you do? And it might take a little longer per kid, but you know what you do those days? It's tip only. The balloons are free. You know what? This is an experiment day. You guys are my guinea pigs. I'm the scientist. I'm trying to figure out what works. And I find that if parents know that when they get in line, they're pretty understanding. And they like coming up with creative ideas themselves to see what you can figure out. So use that as a possibility of building off. Don't do what I did. I made my first balloon right before I turned 9 years old. And I made pretty much the same 10 balloons for the next 3 or 4 years. I was afraid of failing. I was afraid of trying something different and really accepting that I was actually kind of good at this. I literally had to have an older gentleman. I was at his camp. It was for creative arts to teach young teenage guys how to be leaders in the community using creative arts. I literally had to have him move me by the back of the neck on the last day of this camp when we were doing balloons, from the beginner to the advanced room, and he said, have fun. Something came alive in me that day. And the next year I taught the advanced class. I needed somebody to give me that push, that shove. And maybe that's what you need to hear from me right now, is wherever you are in your balloon journey, I don't care if you're a beginner, let's work on that. Maybe you're an in-between intermediate twister, just learning those next steps. Great. Let's push it forward a little bit more. Maybe you're an advanced twister, but you only do other people's designs. Let's work on that. Let's help you figure out your own style, your own way of doing it, where you're not having to buy someone else's material all the time. Okay, you want to start off and you want to show support to somebody? Great. But I want you to get to a point where you're comfortable making it your own, making it something special to you, so that when you give it to a child, it's more than just, I copied and pasted it. Now, if you're really good and you're confident in your ability, I'm going to encourage you to find a competition to enter. I don't care if you get last place. You need to always be pushing your abilities. I was going through a rough time period in my life. I had just moved back from Colorado, and there was a conference coming up in Indianapolis, and I was in no shape to go. But I had a friend, and he's kind of like a big brother to me. And he called me up, and I was camping with a couple of my friends, getting over some of this junk in my life. And he says, what's going to take to get you down to this conference? I said, I don't have the money for the gas. I don't have the money for the food. I don't have lodging. And I don't have money for the conference. He says, I'll call you back in 30 minutes. About 30 minutes or so later, he called me up. He says, someone's covering your food. Someone's covering your gas. You're going to stay in the room with me. And I got you covered, so you're going to teach some classes, and the conference is free for you. You have no excuses. I'll see you down here in 5 days. And I did. Well, at that conference, it was the first year that particular conference was having a balloon competition. And I was in no shape, again, mentally or creatively, to do it. I had taken a year off balloons, and I just was not in the place to do it. However, again, my friend would not take no for an answer. And he told everyone that I was going to win the large balloon sculpture competition, even though I had already told him I wasn't going to enter. I hadn't brought balloons. I didn't have balloons. And I had no idea what I was going to make. Well, this friend pushed me into it, thankfully. He said, what do you need? And I said, what I need is access to balloons, but I don't have any. So he yelled out to the twister room and said, who's going to not let Tim use their balloons if he's making a competition piece? And everyone opened up their bags and said, go ahead. So I made an eagle, and it's now one of the pieces I'm kind of known for, and it won first place. That friend was Gilbert Adams. Some of you might know who he is. Guy's got the biggest heart of anyone I know. He might look like Lurch, but man, that guy's a teddy bear. To his friends. But I had to have someone push me to that door to get better. I had to have someone who always needled me to be creative. I remember one time I was making a 1917 Ford Model T for Ford Motor Company for the Dream Cruise in the Detroit area. And Gilbert, again, I was talking to him, passing some ideas, and he's like, so what are you going to use to make the wheels move? I'm like, make the wheels move? He's like, you're making a life-size car, right? I'm like, yeah, the wheels have to move. So we brainstormed, we figured out a way to make the wheels move. Okay, the engines or the doors are going to open and close, right? And how are you going to do that? And he just kept pushing and needling me. And you need somebody like that to help you, to push you. And again, maybe that's a role that I can help you out with, is pushing yourself past what you're comfortable. Because you never know what doors may open and what surprises and amazement might come from it and what stories. So I encourage you, figure out how to make your balloon skills better. Write it down on a piece of paper, put it on your bathroom window, and work on that one thing. For me, I spent 2 years just working on speed. I then spent another year working on faces, just faces. I spent another year working on little bubbles and details. Find a way to get better. Challenge yourself. Ask others to challenge you. You know, ask a friend, but find somebody also who's going to be honest and say, you need to work on this. Because that's how you become a better twister, a better entertainer, and in essence, kind of better shining light to people. Again, when it all comes down to it, a smile is free. A thank you only takes a moment. But an encouraging word, especially from a giant of a friend, can change your life forever. Till next time, keep on twisting. Adios.